Stop making Terminator movies. Well, fuck a duck. I totally forgot to review Terminator Genisys when it came out. In my defense, it's because I didn't do it right away and thus quickly forgot that I had seen this movie, which, according to the box office, still puts me ahead of the rest of the planet who forgot to see this woe-begotten, septic tank of anal stuff. I'm a little worried, folks. I don't know if I've got enough material here. I know a lot of y'all are here to hear me tear into this one with creative vulgarity and precision plot dissection, but I'm kinda having trouble finding a vein to hit. Genisys isn't so much a bad movie as it is barely a movie at all. It's a concept of a movie, a vague set of half-formed ideas and wouldn't it be interesting if moments strung together lifelessly, not to tell a story, not to advance a theme, not even to perform the basic fucking task of franchise management, but simply to remind you that Schwarzenegger can still walk under his own power, the Terminator brand is still a thing that exists, Skydance owns the right to it, and they're gonna slap that fucking brand on the pockmarked ass of whatever mule shit idea they can muster up again and again until they run out of ways for these things to earn 1 fucking cent more than they cost, to the unending chance of, however you say, hey, I recognize that in Russian and or Mandarin. Yeah. Alright, here's the problem with Terminator movies. There's 5 of these fucking things, and only 1 of them is a great film. And it's not the merely pretty good one that everyone remembers, which means the 3 shitty ones are shitty because they're trying to recapture the glory of a movie that isn't actually that glorious, and I see you in the back, shut the fuck up. I know you love T2 from when you were a kid. I love T2 from when I was a kid, but T2 is not a perfect movie. Yeah, it had cool action scenes. Yes, Linda Hamilton was cool as the Mark II version of James Cameron's gunslinger Mama Bear Oedipal fetish, and yes, that liquid metal shit was the most awesome motherfucking thing ever back in the day. But they also turned the scary, awesome, badass robot monster into the sidekick of a goddamn brat kid who teaches him fucking catchphrases and even contrives an excuse for him not to terminate anyone. Yeah, it's fun, sure, but it's just a solid 90s big-budget blockbuster, which for my money will always get its ass kicked by a scrappy, nasty, hardcore 80s bone cruncher like the original. Which means T2 can't actually satisfy you like it did back in 1991 just from rewatching it, so instead, we keep demanding new installments hoping to get that same high back, making shitty Terminator sequels the cinematic equivalent of paying an escort to dress up like your high school sweetheart when your high school sweetheart is also the disappointing lump you married. Suffice it to say, it's hard to work up a good lathery righteous anger against this particular shit sandwich because we brought the fucking thing on ourselves. Terminator Genisys is indeed the leaky colostomy bag bulging with bowel avoidance from the coma patient that is your Arnoldstalgia, but fucking hell, we ran the hoses and hooked it up of our own accord. This is our colostomy bag. But okay, the big idea this time is that we start out by redoing the first movie with new actors, but then everything goes sideways. This time we get to see John Connor send Kyle Reese back to the 80s to save his mom, but this time Doctor Who shows up and pulls some Mr. Spock shit on Connor just as Reese blinks away, somehow creating a new parallel timeline where Judgment Day happens in 2017 instead of 1997, Terminator 3 and 4 thankfully never happen, and he winds up in a new version of Terminator 1, spiced up with cool stuff from Terminator 2. Yup, it's not just a reboot, it's a DC Comics blow up the multiverse and keep the popular parts crisis reboot. God fucking help us all. As in, did you like badass Sarah Connor and the T-800 as a father figure in T2 but not Edward Furlong? Cool, now Sarah's already a badass and she's got a T-800 daddy of her own because reasons. Do you like the T-1000? Cool, now there's already one of those, and we're making them in Asian now. Nifty. Did you think the CGI 1984 Arnold Terminator was the only good part of Salvation? Good, because we're doing that again so we can have Schwarzenegger mirror match. Yeah, you wanted that back in the 6th day and they didn't even do it, so why even make that fucking movie, right? Ooh, and did you like the break-in and blow the shit out of Skynet before its Skynet plot from Terminator 2? Cool, cause we're doing that shit again. Seriously, they should have called this ball pit of whale testicles Terminator fan service. It's a remake and a reboot and a sequel and a prequel, which means it mostly feels like the overly serious version of the kind of overwrought, convoluted clusterfuck Back to the Future Part 2 was already making fun of 2 goddamn decades ago. Now, complicated ain't necessarily a bad thing, folks. The most popular and highly polished blockbuster movie franchise in the world right now is gradually revealing itself to be about costumed weirdos from a bunch of different movies and a fuckload of different genres chasing around magical rocks, embodying esoteric concepts of cosmic multiversal power. Complicated can be cool, but not when it's complicated for no good fucking reason, and that's what's happening in this shit pile. See, when Kyle Reese, who by the way is now played by Jai Courtney, an actor so unable to register as a presence on screen that Sam Worthington wants to know who the fuck he is, gets to the rebooted version of the first movie, movie, it turns out that the Mother of Dragons and Turbo Man have already killed the evil 1984 Arnold because they need his parts to build a time machine of their own so they can go to 1997 and stop Skynet from initiating Judgment Day. But, because Kyle went through the broken timeline, he somehow knows that history has changed and they actually need to travel to 2017 because Skynet is now going to launch Judgment Day then with its programming disguised as an iTunes knockoff called Genisys. Oh, and the enigmatic super genius Steve Jobs figure who invented Genisys is actually future John Connor, transformed into a stupid-looking new kind of Terminator made out of the microbots from Big Hero 6. No, really, that's the actual plot of Terminator fucking Genisys. Why should the evil new Terminator need to look like John Connor, other than the filmmakers desperately pandering to fans by trying to fit every scrap of Terminator mythology they can into the movie? The idea is supposed to be that it'll fuck with Sarah and Reese's heads, but Sarah can have no idea what her own unconceived kid might look like as a grown-up, and Reese has grown up acclimated to the idea of Terminators pretending to be people, so why would this faze him? And since he's not even played by any of the previous John Connor actors, there's not even anything for the fans to get off on. More importantly, why in the piss-drenched bowels of lowest hell would Khaleesi and the Governator need to build a fucking time machine? Time travel exists in the Terminator franchise so that people can go back in time and change shit. They don't need a time machine to go forward in time. They're already doing that. That's how time works. So instead of taking advantage of a 2-decade head start to build up an arsenal, improve their tactical advantage, gather more soldiers, maybe make bigger plans, maybe even just find and kill Skynet when it's in beta, the last hope of humanity here's plan is to travel to like a week before Judgment Day and just wing it. That's really the movie. Somebody wrote that into a screenplay, and they got paid for it. In money, I assume. There's like one interesting idea in here, the implication that Sarah Connor is gung-ho to stop Skynet her own way, partially because she resents the idea that foreknowledge of the future vis-a-vis time travel has effectively stolen her choice in the matter of whether or not she wants to have a baby and with whom. I mean, holy fuck, reworking the Terminator mythos sci-fi Madonna metaphor into a commentary on the veneration of the maternal as a tool for justifying the denial of reproductive autonomy, that would have been something, especially in a summer where we already had a post-apocalyptic car chase movie turn out to actually be about women escaping a literal patriarchy and then realizing they need to return and conquer it. Unfortunately, Terminator Genisys has no interest in even being half as interesting as Fury Road, or, even just being good in its own right. But even beyond all that woulda, coulda, shoulda, and the big ideas, even the nuts and bolts of this bullshit don't work. Yeah, Arnold versus Arnold is cool to see, but the rest of the perfunctory action is limper than Waylon Smithers at the Playboy Mansion. Emilia Clarke is fine, but her character is actually pretty empty, and she has zero real chemistry with either Schwarzenegger or, fuck, I already forgot who this meathead doofus even is again. And can sci-fi movies please stop this tired-ass shit where every wealthy and or technologically inclined supervillain is some kind of satirical callback to Steve Jobs and Apple? There have been other rich, smart people recently, Hollywood, some of whom even contributed innovations beyond make everything curvy, twee, and proprietary. Yuck. I opened this by entreating the filmmakers to stop making this crap, but what I really should have done is put it back on us in the audience and said, stop going to Terminator movies. Clearly, there's not a shred of passion left for anyone involved here, but it's also clear that new installments of this bullshit are going to keep stretching out like a vast field of unplowed fart balloons so long as we keep showing up. So stop it. Don't do it anymore. The series isn't getting any better. It's not going to get any better. Go do something else. Anything. Clean your bathroom or something. At least then your proximity to lingering, kicked-on fecal leavings will serve a fucking purpose in the near future.